Hey, Summerhill Cinema 700 here with a movie-Blu-ray review on the 1985 film Demons, filmed by Mario, or rather Lamberto Bava. I almost said Mario Bava. Lamberto Bava. And it's actually Dario Argento has something to do with it too. It says he presents the film, so I don't know exactly what he had to do with this film, but he has something to do with it. But anyways, 1985, I just watched this for the first time several weeks ago, and I thought it'd be fitting to do a review on this since it's the 35th anniversary of this film this year. So again, I was going into this, didn't know what to expect. Really enjoyed it. I'll just try to make this review not too long. We start out with the movie. We see this female character. She's on a train and she's just walking around. And then she gets out of the train. She's walking around the train station. This really weird guy with this strange mask comes up to her and he hands her a ticket to the theater to go see this movie that's playing. And you see him like handing tickets out to other people, but he doesn't talk. So anybody that goes up to him, or rather anybody that he gives a ticket to, he doesn't say anything to them. He just hands them the ticket and then walks off. So this girl and her friend end up meeting up and going to this movie theater. While they're there, they meet a couple guys. They're like hanging out with them, and we also see this other group of people hanging out at the theater. They walk in, and there's like these two women, and they're really like loudmouth. They're just like yelling and just talking really loud and being obnoxious. And one of them grabs this mask in the lobby of the theater. She grabs this metal, weird looking mask, demon mask, and puts it on her face. And anyway, so you see all these like different groups of people that are going to the theater to watch this film that's being presented to them. So they're in the theater. They start watching this movie. Of course, the guys that the girls were talking to end up sitting right beside them because they like them. And they're watching this movie, and it's like this strange, like horror movie, weird things. They're like going through this castle or something like that. So it's weird again when you're watching a movie and people are watching a movie inside the movie. So yeah, they're in this theater watching this strange horror film, and then there's this scene in the movie where this one of the characters puts on the mask, and it was the same mask that we saw in the lobby. And all of a sudden, after they notice, I think after they take the mask off or something, they notice that there's a bit of blood coming down their cheek. Well, then this one lady that put the mask on in the lobby, all of a sudden her cheek actually starts bleeding in the theater, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom and wipe this off. So she ends up going to the washroom, and it just blood keeps coming out. And then all of a sudden, it just starts like getting really huge, and there's like this huge bulge, and it explodes, and there's all like this green, blue gunk coming out. It's crazy. This is a great movie if you want to like see the magic of practical effects. And anyway, so that happens, and then next thing you know, her other friend that's in the theater, she's with her boyfriend or whatever. She's like, it's been a long time since whatever her name, she left to go to the washroom. I'm gonna go check on her and see if she's okay. So she goes to check on her friend, and then she's like possessed by a demon and attacks her, and like the effects are super good. She has like these glowing eyes, and it's just like it looks like a more modern representation of like a monster creature, not rather than this film's 35 years old. You see it and you're like, wow, this the practical effects in this are fantastic. So anyways, as we're watching this film, more and more weird things start happening. The woman who's turned into a demon, at one point she ends up like coming right through the screen or something, but people in the crowd just think it's a part of the movie. So all these weird things start happening. And then again, the character that we met at the start, the girl and her friend are there, and then there's these two guys that are sitting beside them. They start to get freaked out. They're like, what's going on? And then it ends up, as they're watching this movie, more and more people are being infected, because I guess everybody that it gets scratched. Anybody that gets scratched by one of these demons turns into one. So there's all this like havoc going on in the theater. Eventually, after quite a while, people start to realize that something is actually going on. So they panic and run out. There's also one of the other scenes that's kind of funny is there's this woman there seeing the movie also with her. I think it's her dad or something, or her uncle or something. And it's this really old blind guy. And she ends up just like, her boyfriend shows up and they start making out. And like, the blind guy's just sitting there, and you feel bad because he's just trying to take his niece out or whatever to watch a nice movie, and she's just like, she ends up going into the back room and they start getting down and dirty, and her her dad's there and she's like, where are you, where'd you go? And she's just in the back room with this guy, it's horrible, but you feel like it's funny at the same time, in a horrible way, because she left him alone there, and then he ends up getting his eyes gouged out by one of these demons, and it's like, oh, the poor guy, like he didn't need that. But anyways, so there's all this havoc going on. Yeah. So anyways, all of a sudden there's all these demons going around because anybody again who gets scratched by them turns into one, and you see all these different groups of people like young couples and stuff like that, and havoc breaks loose. Everybody freaks out. They're trying to escape the theater. There's also this scene where there's like this demon's face on the screen while they're still watching the movie, and the teeth start coming out. Their regular teeth start falling out and are being replaced by these fangs, and that's like a super gross, really good practical effect when the teeth are coming into one of the people who have turned into a demon. So anyways, after people realize something's going on, they all run out of the theater, but there's no escape. They open doors and it's just like blank walls, and then all of a sudden they end up in like a totally unrecognizable area, like some weird like dungeon basement. And anyways, most of the people in this film end up getting turned into demons until it's pretty much like the two guys that I mentioned that are there. One of them ends up getting affected, and he asks his friend to chop his head off with a katana because he doesn't want to turn into one of the demons. So, and then the girl who came there with her friend, I think her friend ends up getting infected. I can't remember exactly how it happens, but basically towards the end of this film, it's just the original girl that we saw at the start of the film riding the train and the guy that she kind of hooked up with, and so it's just them together. And there's like a dirt bike too that was showcased in the lobby of this theater. And there's like a scene where he gets on the dirt bike and they're just ripping around the theater on this dirt bike, and he has like a sword and he's just chopping like demons' heads off. It's probably the best scene in this whole film. It's worth watching it for that alone, but not have seen this movie before, I was impressed. It was very entertaining. It's action packed pretty much from the start of the film right to the end. It's just demons wreaking havoc through this movie theater, basically throughout the film, trying to escape, and all these people are turning into demons. So it's fantastic. And it should be noted too that this film has a great rock and metal soundtrack. It's got songs from Motley Crue. It's got some Billy Idol, Saxon, Accept. I think the scene where he's riding around on the dirt bike, there's an Accept song playing. And it just fits this film very well. And so it's very entertaining. And there's definitely a kind of a shock ending, which I won't give away. You have to watch it to find out. But it's basically the girl and the guy she hooked up with. They're the only survivors. They're trying to get out of this theater. But and then that character at the start who had that weird mask who gave her the ticket, they end up having a run-in with him near the end of the film. But yeah, it's just a super entertaining film. Great soundtrack, great location. The theater that they filmed this in was really good. I liked the characters. They were all, you cared about the characters. You didn't want them to die. So this was a very, very entertaining film. There's also a second film, Demons 2, by the same director, Lamberto Bava. I believe it's the same director, but I definitely got to check that out at some point. But yeah, this was a really entertaining film, and I'm glad that I checked this out. And, I thought it was fitting to do this video, considering it's the 35th anniversary of this film. And now the Blu-ray here is from Synapse Films. It's actually an older Blu-ray. I think it came out 2014, so it's a little older now. It's a high-definition 1080p transfer. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot. I should have mentioned it. A big part of the movie. We also see this group of punks, like these punk rockers that are driving around in this car. They're like snorting coke and stuff while they're driving around in the car, and they're snorting coke out of like a Coca-Cola can, which is really funny. And I was like, how did they get that in the film with the Coca-Cola logo? But they end up finding their way into the theater because they're trying to run away from the police. So then you also got this group of punk rockers that are like running around fighting the demons. So I can't believe I forgot to mention that, but that's a big part of the film too. So you got the two couples, you got all these other people in the theater, and then you got these punk rockers who show up out of nowhere. So it's like, yeah, it just adds to the charm and adds to having that great soundtrack. But yeah, 1080p transfer from the original Vault Materials, it says, featuring all new color correction by Synapse. You get both the international English stereo language soundtrack as well as the US mono English alternate dub soundtrack. The newly translated original English SDH subtitles for both language tracks, and you get original US theatrical trailer. It actually, and then it's a one disc set, you can see there, but they actually explain a bit about this transfer here. So it says about this transfer. This presentation of Demons was scanned in high definition utilizing the original 35mm negative. The uncut version of Demons presented here is slightly longer than the original theatrical version, released in the US in 1986. All instances of a recognizable Coca-Cola can were removed from US prints, which caused audio sync issues with the included shorter US mono audio mix. We did not want to just duplicate sound effects or loop the mono soundtrack to fill in these sections, so professional remixing was performed to the mono presentation during the sequences with the Coca-Cola can. We hope you appreciate the efforts taken to make the mono audio as seamless as possible. The original drone noise at the beginning of the mono soundtrack has also been restored before the title card growl. When researching the film, the licensor informed us the original Stereo International English dub magnetic tracks could no longer be located, so we felt including the Stereo International dub was essential and important to the release, so as an optical stereo soundtrack was utilized. While the stereo track has optical track anomalies and a more limited frequency range, we felt it important enough to include here for the fans because of the alternate voices, dialogue, and musical cues it contains. The brief Italian intermission card has also been removed at the request of Lamberto Bava and his family. So that's a little bit of an idea of what they did for this film. So it sounds like they went through a bit of trouble to get this release out. But nonetheless, this was a really entertaining film. Great Italian horror film. And, you know, I'm such a huge fan of Italian horror and just Italian, like, you know, post-apocalyptic films in general. I should do more reviews on them because they're like one of my favorite genres, Italian horror. But I just don't happen to do a lot of them for some reason. I don't know. Some movies you watch and you're just like, I love them so much, I don't even have to do a review on them, if that makes any sense. But stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a whole video on my Italian horror collection at some point, maybe early next year and whatnot. But anyways, that's Lamberto Bava's Demons. Very entertaining film. Let me know what you think of this movie. Are you a fan of it? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, this is just a super fun time. Very entertaining film, and I highly recommend it. So thank you very much for watching this video. We'll see you next time.